Yeah. There's a plug right there. Okay. Welcome, come on in, come on in. As a reminder for the debaters on the stage, there's a mic there, so speak towards the mic. Okay, so that way it can pick you up when you are speaking. And we will begin with a 6-minute speech in the affirmative. You're young, whenever you're ready.
Observation or resolution analysis. Resolution. The U.S. federal government significantly will increase employment pathways to citizenship in the U.S. The criteria is net benefits looking at the cost of plan versus the opportunity cost of plan through the lens of the policymaker. The definitions of the pathway to citizenship is to allow undocumented immigrants to become American citizens. The employment pathway to citizenship is defined as the EB-3 visas for the skilled workers, professionals, and other kinds of workers. Observation to inheritancy background. America needs immigrants to alleviate a national labor shortage. So we are currently undergoing a national labor shortage in the United States, and seeking immigrants into the country to work in these professions will alleviate that shortage. So the current immigration for the EB-2 visas is 80% to high skilled workers, and then the 20% falls under others, according to the UCSD report. The EB-3 visas expanded its meet national demands in order for us to be able to alleviate this shortage. So the U.S. must increase employment in the immigration to grow the labor force in order to help reduce deficit and also increase retirees, according to the Center for Public Integrity. The observation 3 is the plan. The U.S. federal government will increase EB-3 visas available annually to 50,000 and remove per country caps accessing to the visa. The advantage 1 is the labor shortage. Uniqueness is that the EB-3 visas are underutilized due to the outdated policies. The demand for EB-3 visas outpaced supply for the last 2 decades. It hasn't reached its annual cap of 7% per country because of the outdated policy update, according to the Public Integrity. The limits have not changed since 1990. The link is to increase EB-3 visas is critical for employers to fill permanent skilled labor. Temporary visas do not provide proper time or training to be able to acquire the skilled workers. Construction requires months of training before being able to be productive. So we would require fundamental permanent residencies in order for people to acquire like the proper training for their jobs. The EB-3 visas are the only option for employers to fill unskilled jobs which require training to become permanent workers again, and that's according to Public Integrity. The internal link is that expanding access to EB-3 will help fill shortages in core industries of nursing, trucking, construction, and agriculture. For nursing, we have an estimated shortage of 63,000 full-time nurses by 2030, which is just it's going to be very threatening to our survival because there will be a very low ratio of nurses and doctors and just medical assistants to us as American citizens, according to the American Associates of Critical Care. There's a dangerous inflection point of nursing staffing shortages, and it is essential that we have qualified nurses necessary through the EB-3 visa program. For trucking, we will have a driver gap of 60,000 gap, and that gap is going to be predicted to grow. The permanent residency of EB-3 visas is fundamental to the economy because trucking is the way in which we transport our agriculture and other goods interstate and just across the country. For construction and agriculture, there will be 500,000 workers in construction with unmet job titles and an additional 2.4 million agriculture jobs that will not be filled, according to Business Insider. Immigrants support the U.S. economy by filling unmet labor market needs. The impacts is to prevent death, extending life, providing good food and goods of commerce, which are not enough to grow because there is not enough labor to grow crops. For example, we do transport a lot of crops to Mexico, and by losing trucking, by having a limited amount of like the labor shortage, we would be losing revenue, the net loss of jobs as industries, and it reported by 2021, we generated 50 billion in agriculture. So agriculture is very fundamental to our economy. So, which is why furthermore, we need agriculture workers in our economy, and why we need EB3 visas to provide the immigrants for them to work agriculture. And again, California is the nation's leading farm state and world's largest producer of food and fiber. So if we do not provide EB3 visas for immigrants, then we will not have enough workers, and our economy will collapse because agriculture is fundamental to the way that we live, and especially our economy. The advantage too is illegal immigration. A uniqueness is that illegal border crossing is increasing the status quo. 250,000 migrants have crossed into 2023, according to Pew Research. The links is that fixing outdated EB3 visa program is critical to reduce illegal crossings. The limit has not changed since 1990, so we are completely outdated. Our economy has changed, our way of living has changed, so there needs to be also a change along with it, preventing immigrant workers to our country, according to Public Integrity. The internal link is that illegal crossings are costly and very dangerous. According to the Public Integrity, the U.S.-Mexican border is the world's deadliest land migration route. Hundreds of people die on the border each year. The impacts is to prevent dehumanization, and a lot of the immigrants, if they're not dead, they fall into sterilization. They are forced into cages. It was reported that 1,457 migrant deaths and disappearances occurred in 2022. 686 deaths, and there were disappearances just on the region of the Mexican and U.S. border alone. ICE detains 35,000 people, and which include long-term residents, people seeking asylum, human trafficking survivors, and then also people who were enduring torture. They are held in ICE for extended periods, in solitary confinement and inhuman conditions. Then they are left there for days, weeks, and even years. They endure cruel torture, inhumane, degrading, and just treatment, according to the international human rights law, which is why increasing EB3 visas is fundamental not only to the life of immigrants, but to our U.S. economy.
Thank you very much, Juliana. The native now has 2 minutes for preparation or questions.
Okay, so I have a question for you. Do construction, agriculture, and trucking require degrees?
They are
So EB3 workers falls into different categories, and there's skilled workers, which is people with degrees or at least 2 years of experience and training in the field, and skilled workers, which performs tasks that are required. So when giving out the EB3 visas, these immigrants will be fulfilling jobs that include agriculture, trucking, construction, and engineering, and other nursing positions.
So construction, trucking, and agriculture do not require degrees.
No, they require some 2 years of experience or training. No, they do not.
And also you said that the US is the largest producer of food, and you also said it has a shortage, can you explain how the both? Yes, you can. So essentially the US is very fundamental to the agriculture, not only transporting interstate but also internationally. And if there is a labor shortage, then that means that there's not enough workers to provide the growth of agriculture and the transportation of it, because agriculture and trucking are very intertwined, as agriculture is fundamental to grow the food and then trucking to transport it, which is why if there's a labor shortage, then the U.S. economy is going to fall. And also other countries are going to also very much, they're going to undergo even food shortages, because workers here are the ones that provide the agriculture, and then trucking transport those goods.
Do you have a source that shows evidence that fields like construction, agriculture, and trucking require degrees of experience?
They don't require degrees, but they do require
Do you
experience.
have evidence for that also?
The trucking does require certification.
According to immigration help law, that's the source.
Immigration what?
Immigration help law, that's the source.
All right, that's 2 minutes for questions and preparation. We will now have a 6-minute speech from the first native speaker.
We believe that U.S. federal government should not increase employment practices in the world. The first disadvantage is brain drain. And the way the world is right now, the current immigration policies are sufficient.
The eighth point is the Federal for American Immigration Reform says that caps were introduced to make the system fair for each country, and that caps prevent country dominance in the system. The second uniqueness point is that current immigration policy will continue the limitation of skilled workers to be permanently removed from their home countries. The eighth point is that the current system prevents the U.S. from taking skilled workers from other countries through temporary visas like H-1B. The third uniqueness point is that countries now are developing with skilled workers. The eighth point is that the International Monetary Fund said the world economy is increasing by 6% annually because of the trade and the workforce unification that is occurring. The first link is that their plan results in the permanent state of skilled of people who are skilled. The second link is that the plan spotlights the focus on immigration, which will result in broader immigration policies. The eighth point is that Pew Research Center said that increasing immigration caps leads to political backlash and worse policies in history. Periods of high immigration correlate with border problems as well. The third link is that their plan spills over to increase capital limits and immigration policies. The eighth point is the Federation for American Immigration Reform, so that per country caps keep the system fair, and that India and China would dominate without the caps, which prevents small countries with less applicants from getting in. The first internal link here is that more employment-based pathways result in the permanent state of skilled workers, and there are two scenarios that could occur in this situation. The first scenario is that high-skilled workers are critical to the development of other countries. The eighth point is that World Bank in 2017 says that knowledge and the economy grow with skilled workforce. The B point is that stealing skilled workers hurts countries like Nigeria, and Guardian 2023 says that brain drain could cause doctor shortages in Nigeria to get much worse. The nurse-to-patient ratio in Nigeria right now is 1 to 1,160. Imagine how bad it would get if we kept on stealing workers from them. The first impact here is economic collapse in other countries. They supply that Investopedia says that less skilled workers equals a worsened economy. The second impact here is resource wars. They supply that the Democracy Journal says that worsened tech and economies would make countries desperate for resources, which causes conflicts. The second scenario here is that taking workers from countries will worsen U.S. credibility worldwide. They supply that the Pew Research Center says that foreign views of the U.S. are influenced by immigration policies, and that exploiting or benefiting from brain drain would hurt U.S. credibility as the current global leader. The impacts here are war, world economy degradation, and climate change. For world economy degradation, the IMF says that brain drain deprives countries of talented individuals who contribute to innovation and technology. These people are vital for trade, and by taking them from other countries, we would hurt the entire world's economy by taking these workers that are vital for trade. The second disadvantage is immigration backlog. The first uniqueness point, the way the world is right now, is that the current system is somewhat sufficient in handling immigration cases. The eighth point of the EOIR Statistics Yearbook says that efforts to reduce court backlogs have decreased pending cases very slightly over the years. The second uniqueness point is that increasing paths to employment-based citizenship will flood the court system. The eighth point of the EOIR said that the 2014 Central American migrant crisis significantly extended processing times with more asylum applications, and this caused these cases to be processed for years. The first link that their plan will increase immigration cases in the current system. The second link that the plan will spotlight the immigration backlog and make it even worse. They supply that track reports from Syracuse University show that migrant protection protocols in 2019 have caused increasing cases, which meant that increased cases and processing times, which highlighted the current system's inability to handle surges in the immigration system. The third link is that the plan spills over into inefficiency with case processing and border violence. They point that the U.S. Customs and Border Protection show that increased migration leads to high numbers of aggressive encounters. The first internal link is that people are left at the southern border and refugees are stuck in their war-torn countries. They point that the U.S. Customs and Border Protection says that thousands of immigrants are waiting at the border right now for court hearings, and many have been there for months and years. Increasing caps would make this even worse. The second internal link is that violence, discrimination, and political instability dehumanizes people. The eighth point that the UNHCR said that 26.4 million refugees in 2020 are trying to enter the U.S. due to violence or conflict in other countries, which is dehumanization. The impact here is dehumanization. A report from the American Immigration Council says that people who are dehumanized don't contribute to the world economy or the workforce at all, which can hurt GDPs. To counter some of what you said that increasing cap will help solve the labor shortage, but once again, you yourself said that demand for EB3 right now is outpacing the supplies that we have. This is because the current system is already facing a backlog due to the high number of immigrants, so increasing the cap wouldn't actually do anything. It would just make this backlog even worse and cause processing time to become even longer. First of all, you also said that construction, agriculture, and trucking shortages will be solved by this, and you added a source that immigration health law. But I would argue that our source here is more viable. Let me tell you why. So our source here says that travelstate.gov, which is a government website, says that 2 years of training or a bachelor's degree or the foreign equivalent is what somebody needs to fall under the requirements of an EB3. Your plan, as you already admitted, construction, agriculture, and trucking aren't things that require degrees or anything of the sort, so your plan actually wouldn't help those people at all. He also said that increasing caps leads to less border crossings, but this is just a non-unique. Increasing one cap wouldn't solve border crossing violence at all, because millions of people who are waiting at the borders right now do not qualify for the current EB3 requirements, meaning that only some people might be helped. And once again, those people actually would not be helped because of the court backlogs and longer processing time. This means they would have to wait at borders for longer, which leads to more violence and more dehumanization. You also said that EB3 covers unskilled workers, but as I said already, this is just untrue. Your first advantage might cause companies to fire domestic workers, which means that there's more of a labor shortage than actually caused by.
Thank you for that 6 minutes. There are now 2 minutes for flex or questions by the affirmative committee.
Can you relate immigration to climate change?
Yeah, so climate change is a global effort, right? It's not just happening in America, and the brain drain that your immigration plan would cause is like people or countries who are already suffering from a lack of innovation and technology would have even less skilled workers in these areas to like help provide for green technologies and like renewable resources. This leads to climate change in the world because even though the economy or the innovational capacity of the US might increase with your plan, climate change is something that affects the rest of the world, and it is a global cause. We cannot have just America being good at innovation because climate change in other countries will still cause problems.
Also, for backlogging, it like makes labor shortages worse. So then if companies can't find workers, they start offshoring, which makes climate change worse in the country. And climate change is global effort.
Okay, we now have 6 minutes for the second affirmative speaker. When you're ready.
Okay, so first I'd like to touch on brain drain. So brain drain, we're not actually taking away from other countries because immigrants are choosing to cross to come into the US and to work in that force. According to the foreign policy, the same countries that send workers often get US aid through their trade deals. This means that these countries' economies will not collapse or lead to a nuclear war like the negative beliefs. So places like Russia, China, or Nigeria would not go through poverty or would not decrease in any way because their native workers will be coming into the US. These families typically also send money back home to help fund their families, help fund their countries, and implement a better economy there. Sending country benefits from the employment-based opportunities. And according to the OECD, immigration can reduce unemployment and increase incomes of remaining workers by decreasing labor pools. Immigrants will send money back to their families, and it has been stated that around $857 billion has been sent back home from these immigrants who come to the US to work. So this initially just debunks your claim. Going into court clog disadvantage. Many of these 3 million cases that are seen in these court cases that the disadvantage is arguing are about removal proceedings. They have nothing to do with EB3 workers. EB3 worker visas. In other words, if people, in other words, these case rulings are about if people should or shouldn't be allowed to stay within the US. So these are cases like that have to do with fleeing an asylum, dealing with other things that are going on in their country. This means that the court clock exists regardless whether our plan is executed or not. That would always be a thing regardless of EB3s because it does not associate with EB3. The affirmative is the only plan that keeps this capable of being removal or addressing the real issue of court law. This is because we are able to increase the number of available opportunities for these immigrants to come into the US legally. It helps them, gives them a plan to come into the US and further on develop a better life for themselves and their family back home. The cap of 400,000 EB3 visas gets full very quickly because people want to escape their country for better opportunities. Again, this is because they are seeking a better life and they're trying to come into the US to fund our economy. We will provide an opportunity for less illegal crossing with their plan. Again, this is also through finding a company who will sponsor you. It isn't like people are just waiting around on the border to come into the US. That's not how EB3 visas work. You have to apply for these positions and you have to find a company to sponsor you. So again, people are not waiting at the border, dying, being dehumanized because of EB3 visas. This means that there is no link or connection between the EB3s and what the negative is trying to prove. Because the increase in employment-based visas would not actually result in more court calls or result in people waiting in the border to get accepted into the US. Again, EB3 worker visas has different tiers, meaning that it includes skilled workers, professionals, and unskilled workers. These quote unquote unskilled workers will fulfill jobs like agriculture, trucking, and other of the fields that my friend Yuriana has stated. Skilled workers does not necessarily emphasize a degree or how long you've been in college or how long you've been schooling. As long as you have a 2 year of training or experience, you will qualify for the EB3. Again, you will need a sponsor to fulfill these jobs. Unskilled workers perform the job that we are in need of. We're in desperate need of. Like Yuriana stated, our plan is to expand the number of EB3 visas in order to bring in more immigrants to fulfill in jobs that we need, like agriculture, like construction, trucking, and nursing, because these are vital essentials to our life. Trucking and agriculture. The California US funds a lot of agriculture and trade for other countries as well. We are providing agriculture for them. By us decreasing the number of people who are working in these fields, we would only increase the number of people who don't have enough. We will only increase the number of poverty, increase the number of people who are lacking in these positions, as well as decreasing the number of income that the US will receive because we will not be funding these fields anymore. And as for nursing, if you want to believe that EB3 workers does not account for unskilled workers or people in training, we still need nurses. We still need people in the medical field, which again, if we do not have positions fulfilled, we would only decrease the number of life expectancy. We would only decrease the number of people who are working in these positions, especially when we're in a time of need where people are constantly going to into hospitals. It has been a known fact that we are decreasing the numbers of people who work in the medical field. Again, our plan, the act, is helping out immigrants get a better life, helping the US economy with fulfilling jobs that we definitely need. Unemployment rate for US born workers has averaged 3.6 in 2023 at a lowest rate of record. Immigrants are not causing unemployment within us, they're only helping us. They're only filling in gaps that the US cannot fulfill. They fill in gaps caused by demographic changes in the United States, and they contribute to a strong economic growth. Bringing in more immigrants will only make the US better, would only impact us better. Now going on to global warming. Global warming cannot be solved now without change. According to the Union of Concerned Scientists, already acknowledged that we are essentially too far gone in stopping global warming. Only slow can be able to prevent this issue, not EB3 workers.
We now have 1 minute of flex for the negative to prepare for the final construction.
Do you have evidence that like increasing the caps in increasing the caps in employment-based pathways would not cause more people to wait at borders? Because we have evidence of it.
Yeah, because when you apply for EB3 visas, you're not going to the border.
No, like with a source or something, not like an else.
Yeah, immigration helps law.
Can you say what it says? Like, what it says?
Yeah, so many of these 3 million cases that the disadvantaged are, wrong one, okay, right. And so essentially, this means that the floor plan exists regardless of now, and they're essentially removed proceedings. This is because the number.
We weren't talking about the project, we're talking about people living.
People waiting at the border, well,
Your argument that people waiting at the borders are because of EB3 reasons, but
Yes,
that's.
because, but you don't have evidence to prove this.
All right, thank you very much. We now have 6 minutes, as the final speech for the negative.
okay, extending the Christians on immigration backlog, the current system is sufficient to handle immigration cases that we have before, and the acts plan will fund this and disrupt the current status quo, which is the state of the courts now. There are 3 million pending immigration cases and countries are developing, and letting people have more permanent visas would slow down their innovation, which would inevitably cause climate change to worsen, and we would have no innovation to combat it. Also, because of the courts being backlogged, people will be left stranded and to die at the border. This leads to violence, discrimination, and political instabilities in home countries and dehumanizes people. Dehumanization is where people lose their sense of self, which loses them the right to advocate for themselves. They lose their home, identity, and community, which I'm sure we all will very dear to us. The act says that immigrants feel labor market shortages and that is fundamental to the economy. However, American Immigration Council says that discrimination, dehumanization, and dehumanization reduces people's impact towards economic contributions. Immigrants who face discrimination are less likely to participate fully in the labor market, leading to less a loss of GDP growth. This means that the act's claim on immigration leading to the act's claim that immigration is fundamental to the economy is false and actually has the opposite effect on our economy and GDP, which further proves that EB3 visas are not the way to go. The app also says that increasing EB3 visas will help solve shortages in fields like agriculture, construction, and trucking, but we say that this is false because these workers don't fall under the EB3 category because EB3 visas are for skilled workers with bachelor degrees or foreign equivalent. What this means is that these workers will have to go back to their home country because these visas don't provide them with permanent residence. So when the act says that their EB3 visas will help immigrants finish training so that they could work here, the app actually can't solve labor shortage like they claim because of these workers having to go back to their country because they can't have permanent residence for the jobs that the app says that they will fill. The app also says that we need more workers to combat national labor shortage, but we say that this is false and they can't actually solve the problem of labor shortage because the plan has the opposite effect. It leads to courts being clogged, which means that wait times will increase and it will take months to process applications, which means that nobody will be getting any type of EB visas because whole courts will be clogged. This will further aggravate the labor shortage. They also claim that court cases don't have anything to do with EB3, but we say this is false because even if cases aren't about EB3, it still falls under the immigration and it falls under the immigration category, which means that it will inevitably make court follow words. The app also claims that EB3 visas will help alleviate illegal border crossing and reduce violence and discrimination at the border. However, their plan actually has the opposite effect. Like I stated, courts being backlogged means that many people will be left at the border, and the U.S. and Mexico borders is one of the world's deadliest landmarks with at least 686 deaths and disappearances last year. This is due to trafficking industries at the border. With more people stranded there, drug and human trafficking will increase at the border, which causes more deaths. The app's world undoubtedly creates further backlog, which worsens trafficking industries, causes dehumanization, worsens labor shortage, and causes job layoffs. They have been claiming to solve this, but they are actually increasing its magnitude. And also, U.S. credibility is key to prevent they also haven't answered anything as to how their plan causes more court backlog and massive discrimination. They also haven't answered anything as to how their plan actually worsens U.S. credibility. Which means that
admitting that war and world economic degradation will occur with their plan. You also said that the U.S. is the largest producer of food, but you couldn't back up your claim and don't explain how the U.S. is the largest producer of food if there are huge labor shortages in the agriculture industry. You also say that it's fundamental to the economy, but like I stated, immigrants who have been through dehumanization actually contribute less to the economy and it causes more GDP loss. You also say that people are not dying at the border and that discrimination actually, like you said it doesn't worsen with the caps being increased. However, Yuriana said in her first affirmative speech that there is full torture and humanization at the border, so your guys' speeches contradict each other. You also say that the caps are underutilized and that you're claiming that they don't do their job. However, the whole job of the caps is to ensure that each country has a fair chance of getting EB3 visas. And like Krishna said, India and China would dominate in like tech industries if we raise the caps. You also said that there will be less illegal crossings because people don't wait out borders. However, this is false because they actually do, and we have evidence to prove this. And you guys don't have any evidence to back up your claim. Track reports from University state that migrant protect.
Okay, thank you very much for the final constructive speech. We will now move into the rebuttals, where there will be no new arguments, We begin with the negative rebuttal, which is 3 minutes. Whenever you are ready.
So it is very clear that we should vote neg here, and here is we should vote neg, and here is why. So the plan has no solvency, as we've already proven and my partner said. We are winning the argument that court backlogs are a problem that will inevitably increase with the plan. The app admits that backlogs will never get better, but the plan just makes this work by increasing immigration cases. Although they might say that EB3 cases aren't what's taking up the court backlog, it falls under the immigration like criteria. So your plan will actually help increase this or exacerbate this backlog and make it even worse. They have also forfeited that climate change will increase, and they have no answers to our point that brain drain results in less innovation, which leads to climate change in other countries. Once again, as my partner and I have already stated, climate change is a global effort. We need innovation in other countries to fully combat climate change. Although it might be something that is decreasing right now, by preventing brain drain and this plan from being implemented, we can prevent climate change from getting even worse and actually have a chance at making it better. Also, what do you think has more magnitude? War, world economic degradation, and climate change, or their impact of dehumanization? Obviously, the three ones or the three impacts that I've stated. These are definitely more important than the impact of dehumanization, which we've already proven will not even occur or will occur worse with their plan. Also, war, climate change, and world economic degradation will lead to longer lasting effects than dehumanization would. Dehumanization and poverty is something that will always exist in a capitalist society like America, which means that there's no way to fully solve this problem, and we should instead focus on preventing things like war, climate change, and world economic degradation, all of which are way more important than the simple impact of dehumanization. The plan is selfish, and the app has no way to combat the worsened U.S. credibility that will come with the plan. Their impacts are weak. All they say is that we will have more food or like better quality of life, but it's obvious that climate change, wars, and worsened world economy are way more important and have long-term issues compared to their plan. Also, they said that we're not taking away other countries, or we're not taking away from other countries as US aid is something that increases when we have more foreign workers. But let me tell you something. A skilled workforce is not the same as a better economy. All right, a skilled workforce results in innovation and technology and green industries, while a better economy could help to stimulate these things. But in the first place, you need educated people who can do this. With their plan, other countries would lose all the educated people they have, and they would not be able to solve the problem of climate change as well as we are doing right now. Although the climate change might be getting worse as time goes by, we can stop it from getting even worse by voting neg right now. The plan will make a lot of problems even worse, and it has no solvency as court backlogs increase, or court backlogs will make it so that the labor shortage will not get solved at all and increase illegal immigration.
Thank you very much from the negative. There's now 1 minute of flex for the affirmative vote. So we now have the final speech of the day, a 3-minute rebuttal from the affirmative. Whenever you're ready.
You claim that we have a selfish plan, while you claim that there will be that innovation is fundamental to us and because we will have education. But what you don't take into account is how will we have innovation, education, if we do not have food? Our economy is fundamental again to interstate and international like agriculture, and we need food. And essentially, you say that your plan, if not implemented, will lead to war and climate change. However, there are innovative people in other countries, but we are not stealing their resources. We are not stealing these professions from them, because these people in these other countries, they will not be able to grow. They will not be able to further their career unless they are in like a first world country, like the United States. So yes, they will be coming to the United States, perhaps to get more education, to work for us as well. But there is also the transportation of money. They do like transport money and their resources to their home country. So we are not stealing anything from them. In fact, they are here in our country to work. So for example, like truck drivers, they are here to work to extend agriculture and be like in the United States. They work for transportation and to again further our economy. However, if we do not have them, there is no way that we're gonna have innovation and education if we are starving to death. You say that there will be war and climate change, however, you never explained how immigration will lead to war. In fact, you said that there would be like resource wars, however, it would be a graver effect of people going hungry, of there being world hunger, if our country does not exert its all possible, like exerting all the agriculture that we can, especially in transporting it. It is fundamental that we keep these people like the EB3 visas, because they are immigrants that work for our country, and we are not stealing anything from them, because they are coming here to like impart their knowledge and their resources to our country, and they also help their own country, because once they move back, they are taking the education they learned here, the opportunities that they have here, to exert them in their country, to educate the people in their country. So again, it is mutually beneficial, because yes, and this also leads to like helping climate change, because if people from other states, from other countries, say Mexico, they come here to our country to learn about climate change, to learn science, and just like furthering their high education, they're gonna go back to their country and work harder, like to be able to increase the innovation for climate change. But how are they supposed to gather this knowledge if they do not come to the United States? If they are not given the opportunity to have an EB3 visa for immigration? You guys said that we did not respond to court backlog, but our plan of EB3 visas, it actually helps. It helps there being less border crossings, because people are given the opportunity to legally cross to our country, which is why our plan is going to be more beneficial to immigrants and to the country.
All right, everybody, give them a round of applause. Audience, okay. Angelica is gonna come around and hand out slips of paper for you to vote for the team that you believe you did the best if you were a parent. Not that parent.
Right, right.
Yeah, not those parents. Okay, and then Tierra's gonna come around and have out slips of paper to the students. So that way they can decide who they wanna vote for as well. Okay, now the key part here is you don't vote based on anything anybody else says to you. You need to come to the decision on your own. Come to a decision on your own. So if you're a parent who watches the debate, please come to a decision on your own. Each individual should come to a decision on their own. And if you are a student who watches the debate, you come to a decision on your own. We will collect these after you finish, and then we'll have our award ceremony.